So I have here questions that were actually sent ahead of time. So we'll go through those first, and I'll also give an opportunity to for the people right here in the room to ask. The first question I have here says, in the context of marriage, where it says that both partners should satisfy each other's sexual needs, are there needs that are perverse, that is coming from a context of a mind that has been perverse from by porn?
There, there are God-given needs and God-given like desires that we all have, right? When we step out of that boundary, we can kind of tell that we are going out of line, right? There is that. But when it comes to marriage too, marriage is you and your spouse with God. So this is what I generally always say with things like that is you need to ask yourself a few questions. The first one is, are you violating God's word by doing whatever it is that you call your need that you are proposing, okay? Whatever it is. I know that for the person who asked the question, you probably think that that's where that desire came from, is from watching pornography, but it may not be. It may not be, because what pornography is the devil perverting what God created. And this is why now it looks as if Christians are afraid to talk about sex or afraid to talk about all those things because they think that anything like that is from the devil. But it's not. God was the one that created it as a gift for married people, right? But the enemy has twisted it and perverted it and almost like taking ownership of it, because we're even afraid to mention the words. Because somehow when we want to say it, we cringe, because we feel like this might not be, so that's where, so you have to be sure that some of these things are natural. They are natural desires. The most important thing is ask yourself, am I violating God's word by doing this? Am I violating my partner, which is my spouse, right, by doing this thing? Which means that if one of the two of you, have an issue of conscience with what you are proposing, then it's a point where you have to compromise, which means that you have to let go of what you think is a natural desire. Do you guys understand what I'm saying at all? Yeah, if the person that your spouse feels like there's something wrong with that, right, then there's something wrong with it. It has to be what the two of you agree on, right? So that's the way you look at that. And then the final thing is, are you involving anybody else in your marriage? Is it something that, because when you start talking about things like, watching pornography together, all those kind of things, you are involving other people in your marriage bed. There is a problem with that. So it's those things. Once you have that in your mind as a guideline, then you can say, okay, this is, this. And again, we've talked about communication. So you open it up and you talk about this thing. There's nothing to be ashamed of. The person that, we have a proverb where we come from that you're not supposed to be afraid of. A dead person is never afraid of the person that will bury them. Literally, your spouse is going to bury you. Literally, that's what's going to happen. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. You've got to be able to make it clear and make it plain and say, okay, this is exactly what I feel. This is how I see this. This is what, and then you guys come together and not try to shame each other or say, oh, you must be perverse because you have this, thing. Look, I'm telling you, every one of us have had thoughts in our head at one point or the other, and you've asked yourself, where did that come from? That cannot be from the Bible. That one, that's not of God. Yeah. So that's what I'll say about that. So it's just important to be open and honest, talk things through, and be willing to bend just based on those guidelines. Okay. I don't know if PD has anything to add. I hope that answered the question, though.
Did that? Yeah. Okay. How do you feel? Good. All right. All right. So the second question here, that is also along that line, and that's why I'll come back to anyone that has a question right here in the room. It says, in the quest of full and plain disclosure regarding relationships, if you have struggled with porn in the past, is this information necessary to tell your partner, or do you don't have to because you've been able to overcome it?
Okay. I think we already answered that in a way. So full disclosure. There is no full disclosure, and pretty much you overcoming something is nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually something to be proud about. right? There's nothing to be ashamed of there. So if you've dealt with something in the past, you have to let them know. I'm thinking of one particular instance now where somebody used to be. Do you guys know who a kleptomaniac is? People who just randomly go into places and shoplift and just steal things they don't need, pretty much, right? And this lady was set free by that, and she wanted to get married, and she was asking, should she tell her? I'm like, what do you mean? You had better tell them, right? So it's something, it's not something to be ashamed of, but something to be proud of, that you were able to overcome that, right? And just make it clear so that this person knows all about your story without hearing it from other people, which can be a big blow. Right, is that you don't want them to hear it from another person later on that, oh, did you know that your wife used to do this thing? They'll be like, yeah, I know that, that's okay. Be like, are you sure? You don't know that? He said, don't worry, that's good. But if that's the first time you're hearing it, the reaction will be different. Right, so that's that.
Yeah, I think what I'll have to it is just what you alluded to. Saying that is because you're trying to build trust in the marriage, so keeping anything is damaging the trust you're going to build. So it's just better to be open and plain from the get-go.
I think from what I was saying during the session there is those kind of things give you an opportunity to practice communication. That's a very, very, I don't know how else to say it. It's a very important, look, you need to find excuses to talk when you are dating. That's the only job you have. That's the only job you have. Your only job is just to make sure that you are talking as much as possible, communicate, not talking with your hands under their clothes, but with your mouth. You get? You have all your lives to do the under the clothes one. But if you don't get it right with expressing yourself and doing all that, it will even become more difficult to do the other parts that you are mostly interested in. So that's yeah, please, guys, any opportunity you have, any opportunity you have at all to say stuff. If things come, I remember then when my wife was very far away and we're doing long distance, I used to write things down that I wanted to talk about. So I'm not going to wait until when for us it was Skype. I know you guys now it's just FaceTime. All you have to do is just do like this and the person is there. Skype, you need to plan it properly. Plan when there will be light. Number one, not power, light. Where there will be light, where there will be internet connection, where there will be, you have your own, some privacy to do that, and you do all of that. So I had to literally write down things and go through them one after the other. So, okay, this happened, so that things don't pile up. And then it just, after some time, it just goes away. You are no longer thinking about it, but you don't tell them, they don't know anything about you. Have you ever been in a scenario where you're talking to somebody, maybe those of you who are in a relationship, you will know this, and you tell them, you know that thing I told you about? And she's like, no. Maybe it's your ex you told, or your side chick. You didn't tell me about that one. You can find yourself in that, because in your mind, you actually think you told them. Yeah, you literally think you told them in your mind because you thought through it mentally. You say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to say, but you never put it down. You never put it down. You did not make a note of it to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and that's the way we go about this, so that we are being diligent with our relationships, and then that's the way we'll see that it works.
I think the first part for me was is the fact that I knew God. I know Piers has said that there was a time that after we even started the relationship, there was a time we had to take a break for 6 months, just so that both of us can be sure that this is what God wanted us to do. So that was where I got my own clarity and conviction about the relationship. So when I came to Canada, and I had choices, but the only thing was I couldn't pray about any of those. I couldn't pray because I knew what God said to me concerning. So even when, there was an instance that I was just telling him, just give me time. And I was hoping he would not call me again, but he did not let me be. But I couldn't pray about it. And I knew if I go ahead with that relationship, it would be good, but I know I wouldn't be in God's plan for me. I could not pray about it. So knowing what helped me throughout that period was the word God gave me. And that's what I kept going back to over and over when we had challenges, when we had issues. I'm like, okay, God said he's not a man that he should lie. So if he has said it, he will definitely make it. It was a bumpy, rough relationship. Not that we were fighting. the whole idea was that we're going to be married within 2 years, and it lasted for 7 years. So it's times 3. So it was not planned. But what held me was just that word God said to me from the beginning. That was the only thing I could hold on to. I couldn't even tell anybody that I liked other people, because I already made that commitment. Everybody knew that I have always said, oh, this is the person I'm going to marry. So when other people showed up, I could not even say it. So that's what kept me personally.
Okay. This is good to know. All right. I'm just trying to make my own notes in my head. I think for me, the coping, I don't know if I'll call it coping mechanism though, but for me, that season of my life was a season where I was quite busy. So I wasn't idle. Like I wasn't like unemployed or, that kind of thing. Like I was quite busy. I was one of the reasons why I know people like Sako is not in Canada is because I used to publish a magazine back in Nigeria called Vine that was like a Christian youth magazine, which would take me from event to event to event. Almost every night I'm somewhere. I'm interviewing somebody. You get like I was living a very busy life. Out of that period, I have to make out time for her. To say, okay, I have a relationship somewhere that I have to cater to. So I wasn't idle. I think when we're idle, it makes it tougher. When we are idle, when we don't have anything to do, it makes it more challenging. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but that helped me. Yeah, because I didn't have to. The only times where I had to consciously, suppress certain things was when I found myself doing nothing. When there was literally nothing to do, or there was no, So I wasn't, it wasn't all the whole time that I was employed somewhere, but whether or not I was employed somewhere, I always had work to do. There was always something, which is the beginning of it, is that God gave Adam work before he gave him a spouse. So before you start worrying about woman, first, fix that issue of work first. It's not like the work now becomes everything, but it has to be there so that it's something that you're thinking about. And the other thing that she mentioned also was the fact that I knew what God said to us. Like that part of it, when it comes to choices, like you're saying, it's like there will always be choices. You have people, in fact, there were people that just in the spirit of being open and honest, I said to her, today I'm going to be very honest with you guys and tell you things I probably have never heard before. There were seasons where I thought I was in love, genuinely. So in fact, I remember one particular one that I had to call her and tell her. I said, there's this particular girl, I think I'm in love with her. She said, you said you are in love? I said, no, I think I'm involved. Because I saw the way she reacted to me saying I was in love with this person, right? So I quickly changed it to involved. But that was the way I was feeling at that particular time. And this is why you can't rely on your feelings, because feelings can carry you in so many different directions. Look, if you opened me up at that particular moment, for me to summon up the courage where I could even tell her, it has gotten to the point where I thought genuinely I'm in love with this person. But today, in fact, after I made it clear that I'm not going to marry the person, the words that were spoken told me that I could never have been in love. Because sometimes you can be carried away. You just feel like, but when the words started coming out, I said, hey, thank you, God, that I didn't make this mistake. Because somebody can come across as, you are the best thing since sliced bread because they want to end up with you. Well, I'm telling you, the real test is when things are not going the way that it was supposed to go, is to know whether this person still has the character. So for me, it was the only thing that I knew was that I knew that this was God from the start. That God was the one that put this relationship together. And if this relationship is going to end, he will have to break it by himself. So I'm not going to, in fact, there were seasons where the only reason why we stayed in a relationship was that nobody wanted to say, I'm not doing again. Yeah, because nobody had the courage. Neither of us had the courage to say, I'm going to be the one to end this relationship. Because we thought it was over. Because we're not talking for so long. It was like, you are living your life, I'm living my life. And that's what distance does to you. It does that naturally. If you are not working hard at it. And I know, again, some of you guys living in 2024 may not have a concept of this because you think, it's so easy to just... Back in the day, we needed to go to cyber cafes to access the internet. Does anybody know what a cyber cafe is? Yeah. You go to the cyber cafe, you buy a ticket, they give you time, 1 hour or 30 minutes or whatever. It could be your pocket money that you're using to buy that time. You log on to High Five. There was no Messenger, there was no Facebook, no Twitter, no nothing. No TikTok, nothing. It was High Five. You log in, then you wait for them to come online. And you can wait the whole 30 minutes. and they are still on the bus trying to get home from school. Then you have to save up another pocket money and come back another day. So those things are challenging. They make it very, very challenging. After some time, and as you are browsing the cafe, you are seeing another girl on the other side browsing her own computer too. Maybe her boyfriend is in Portugal or somewhere, and she's eyeing you as you are waiting for your spouse to come. These are real things. You just feel like, well, it's even easier for me to just go ahead here and forget this whole thing, right? So that makes it very, very tough. It makes it a little bit challenging. But through all of those periods, the one thing that I knew, which is where you talked about the conviction, is the beginning of it is not the pursuing those feelings, which is why I always tell you guys that the beginning of it is not to go after them hard and make it impossible for them to breathe. The beginning is to get that conviction first. That's the beginning of it. Once you have that, every other thing, you will pass through all sorts of, like, so many different things, but you will always come back to that beginning of it. That this is, if you can, there are people before you who have gotten the book Love Code and did not read it. But if you actually read it, you will learn a lot from it. We wrote that book not to sound like a book. The minute you start reading it, you will know that this is not your normal, ordinary book. It's not one of those books that is full of facts and figures, statistics. It just bamboozle you. We're writing like we're talking to you right now. It's a conversation style. You even get to the point where you'll be like, is this a book or are they just talking? That's the whole idea. So let you see that this thing is very simple. It's nothing complicated, but you have to put first things first. First things have to come first. Otherwise, you'll find out that you have put the feelings before the conviction, and then when you get to that point, you now start struggling. That's when you now start struggling because your emotions have become involved. But if you start with conviction, whether your emotions go up or they come down, your conviction is fixed. It's static. The other things, it will adjust. Your feelings will go up. There will be times in your relationship where your feelings will be so high, where you feel like, wow, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. There are other days where you have to work at it. There are other times where you have to work at it and put in an effort to say, okay, I've committed to this, I will make this work. I hope.
Yeah, I'll have one thing. Another thing I just remembered too was the church we were at before we moved here. So one of the things my pastor's wife asked me was, are you seeing someone? Like, I'm very close to her. Like, that was one of the things, and I told her yes, and they called him right away. So that was one of the reasons why I could not even tell them that I'm liking somebody else, because they already is every day Aisha. So being accountable to someone actually helped me to regulate some other things too.
That's very important point. Very good. Sir. Thank you, ma'am. The next question I have here says, is there an appropriate timeline for dating? Can you date for too long?
I wish I knew this person, so I can ask them how long do they want to date for. It's true, sincerely, because, I mean, we are different. We all have, I always tell people that if I had my way, I would not do a long-distance relationship again. So when you hear 7 years, don't think that it's because that's what I wanted or that's what we wanted. Yes, you can date for too long. You can date for too long because you have to ask yourself, how long is it that you want to bond with passion for this person? Because the fact that you feel a certain way does not mean that there's something wrong with you. It's that you have to keep that feeling in check till you get married. So how long do you want to do that for? And how long are you able to do that for? This is the reason why when you start, your eyes have to be on the prize, on the game that you are playing. The game is, I need to get to know this person as much as I can, as quickly as I can. That's the game. It's not to get in under their clothes or get into their pants first. Leave that one. Look, you have a lot you will discover. I promise you, there's a lot to discover in that area. The first thing you want to really know is what is inside this person's mind, what's going on in their head, what has been going on in their past. All of that information, you have to get that out as quickly as you can, as much of it as you can draw out as quickly as you can, so that you save yourself the stress of waiting forever. There are certain things that you need to know, though, like we've been talking about, that must be in place. So it's not that, because you have found somebody that you like and you can't help yourself, you just want to get married. You have to have a job that you are doing. And these days, both guy and girl, it's not, in Nigeria, I can tell them, guy, have job. But here, even the two of you salary is not even enough to do anything anymore. Yeah, these days. So the two of you have to have something that you are doing. You know that you can fend for each other. You can fend for yourselves without each other, but you are coming together to complement each other. All that must be in place. your age is on your side. You are not 19 or 18 years old saying, I want to get married, right? I'm not in that. I know there are people who have done it, but that's not my thing. There are parts of your brain that are not yet formed until you are 21. That's medically speaking. So there are certain parts of the reason why my kids behave the way they behave is because there are parts of their brain that are still forming. So no matter how many times you say something to them, it's like you haven't said it. Because the physical composition of the brain is not yet able to carry those things. It's the same thing with you. So I know at 19 you think I'm a lady, I know what I'm doing, because you look at yourself in the mirror and all the physical things are formed, but there's something that's still going on here. So when you're older than 21, you have a job or whatever it is, you are matured enough. There are people who are 22 and act better than 30-year-olds, and the other way around too, right? So once you have all that in place, there's no need to be waiting forever. Let me show you some scriptures. If you can find 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 2 for us. There are guidelines in the Bible for things like this, like to tell us. It says, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. So that's why I said it's legit for you to decide that because you don't want to be involved in sexual immorality, you want to have your own husband. That's a good reason. There's nothing wrong with that. But just make sure that that's not the only reason. That all the other things are already in place, all right? That you put that there. And then it talks about, in the same chapter 7, if you go down to verse 8 or 9, it gives us clearer explanation on what he's talking about. How that you can get to the point where it says, but I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it's good for them if they remain as I am. Verse 9. But if they cannot exercise... Are you guys reading this with me? Okay. If they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry. Yeah, for it is better to marry than to bond with passion. And that's what happened to a lot of singles. Say, well, I've been dating now for 2 years. Oh boy, that's too long. There's no reason, except there is a valid reason why you are dating for 2 years. Maybe that the person is not where you are, and all of that. You are in the same geographic space. You all the checks are done. The person believes what you believe. Maybe you go attend the same church, or all of those things are good. It's not like there's still parts of it. Maybe the person is still in school or something is going on. If all the other factors are in place, there's no reason why. Because I promise you, you will not be able to bond with passion for 2 years. Except you are deceiving yourself. You will not be able to do it. Yeah, there's simply no way you will be able to do it. I mean, even if they lock you up you can't do it. After some time, things will start falling apart. So some of your guards that you have put up will start breaking down. Those walls will start breaking down. The reason why we could do our own for 7 years is because we were not seeing each other every day. She will literally come to Nigeria once or twice, or at most 3 times a year. And the maximum length of time you ever spend, maybe 2 weeks, max. All I had to do was put up my best Superman vest for the 2 weeks, and just put all my guards up and, behave myself for that 2 weeks, and she's gone, right? But if you're in the same space and all of that, there's no reason why you should be there. I don't know if I'm making this person happy or sad, but that's so how long is too long to actually know each other well enough, right? Those are the things you need to ask yourself. Do I know this person well enough? Well enough to say that you want to marry this person, you want to spend the rest of your life with this person. If you feel like there are still things that there's a way you can be talking to people and you know that this person is still hiding something from me. Yeah, if you are in that place and you have not yet come to the place where you know that I think I know this person, then you are still in courtship. That's what the purpose of courtship is to get to know the person properly, to understand. You can't know everything about the person because we are always putting our best foot forward when we are in a courtship relationship. All of us do it. We are of our best behavior. We go to the barbing salon every week. We groom ourselves every single week. We behave ourselves. We wear our best clothes, put on cologne, do everything. It's when you now get married that all those things, you throw them away as though it doesn't matter anymore. All right? So until it gets to the point where you can at least see some parts of the good, the bad, and some of the ugly, get to see the person get upset in public, yell at someone, and ask yourself, can I deal with this? So it's not just like they are always on their best behavior and all of that. Right? So that's what I would say about that.
The first place to start is they are non-negotiables. So that's where you want to start with. So what are those areas? So if it's, let's say, maybe in the area of belief now, like maybe the person says, what has to do with your core beliefs, like church, faith and all of that. That's why you have to agree in that place. And when we say negotiation, it's not all or nothing. You come with, there are things you have to give up. You don't always have to have your way. And sometimes in relationship, because like one of the things I taught on Sunday is your relationship is evolving. There are things that now the person might have said no to now. It doesn't mean it's not going to say yes to it tomorrow. But what you want to determine, is it a non-negotiable? So, and that determines if you're going to say, okay, this, if I'm not having my way in this, then I'm not going to budge. I think that's just being able to separate it from, is this very important to me or not? And what is important is not just, there are things that in seasons of life as well. So it's to know what season you're in. Is this very important? What will this thing affect? If you don't have your way, what will it affect? I don't know if I make it. So those are the things so it's not just all or nothing. Because even if the person says no now, it doesn't mean they're not going to say, and that thing you want, you might not even want it later on. So.
I am only interested in what you are negotiating for. I want to know. Oh, you don't have to share, I'm just saying. Yeah.
And some of the things that came up were like culture, or spirituality, or individual differences, personality, family background. So it could be that.
So let me say for culture is not biblical. It's the culture of heaven. Especially if you're a believer, that's where you're looking at it from. It's the culture of heaven. If it's not Christ-likeness, then culture doesn't stand against biblical principle. But when it comes to family background, it's understanding, and some things you have to grow into. There are some things that we think that's how it's supposed to be, just because of how we were brought up. Because you look at it that, let's say, for instance, the person has to, what we have compromised on, my husband does not call anybody. And
don't be like me, it's not good.
It's not good, but calling is very important to me. So will I say, so I do the calling on both sides. So those are things that you have to really, if it's important to you, then you have to grow it and make the person understand. Maybe help them set a reminder. Or another thing I do is I call when he's around, so that I'll just say, okay, he's even here now. At least if you're not going to call, now I'm making the call. You can just talk to him. So there are some things that are not really important, that we're just making them important. But the ones that are important are your values, because that's what makes you, your faith. So those are the things that are really important, that if you're going to compromise, it has to be compromise that is based on your agreement. It's not that, I'm compromising because this person fails to understand me. It's compromise based on agreements. Or else you're going to feel cheated. You're going to feel you're losing ground.
I don't know what PD will have to say about this, but for me, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, don't involve your family until you are sure of what you are doing. Do you understand what I mean by that? Until you know what you are doing. You know, there's so many things going on these days. Some people, you're just talking, and then you start seeing someone, and then you're in a relationship. Some people, it's complicated. There's all sorts of things now. Until it's no longer complicated, and you know what you're doing. Because our parents are supposed to be like the gatekeepers. They're supposed to be almost like, it's not the final check, but it's when you have to filter through some things for yourself first before you present that person to your parents. Because once you present them to your parents, they've started counting for you. Yeah, they've started counting the number of people that you have presented. So you need to do some filtering on your own, and then you do that. Let me tell you, the first person that I introduced to my mom was not PD, okay? This was the person that I taught in my own little brain then that was not yet developed. I was not yet 21. So this was the person that I thought that I was going to marry. So for me, I was clear, and I was like, this is the first person I'm dating, this is the first person I'm going to marry, I'm not doing any games, this is it. And I brought her to my parents. Like, she was literally a part of our life. Like, literally, she would come, she would do everything. When that relationship ended, it was like my whole family broke up with somebody. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for them because she was literally part of everything. Like, she would do everything with us. She would come to our house. Some people even who were not part of our family thought that she was one of my mother's children at some point. Yeah, it was that serious because this is the only girl. I wasn't ready to, play around or mess around or whatever. So when it was clear that this relationship was not going to work, and it was basically the first thing that we spoke about is, do we believe the same thing? So that you met in church does not mean you actually believe the same thing. It was when it came down to the nitty-gritty of let's sit down together and read the Bible, and it became a challenge. I'm like, something is wrong here. Do you get what I'm talking about? But you go to church, but it doesn't mean anything until I now got to know our family properly, and I saw that, okay, at their core, there's no faith or anything there. So it's just, we just go to church and just do all of those things. So things became clear that this relationship is not sustainable. So, but when I had to end that relationship, it was tough for them. So for a while, I just kept Dorcas as a secret inside the cooler. It was when I knew that she was going to be traveling very soon, right? And I knew that, okay, I need to make this clear now. That's when I brought her into the picture. And then, because my mom is a believer too. She's not really, and she knows that I don't, because you have to earn these things. When you earn their trust, they know that you don't just do things frivolously. Like you are not. When I brought her in, and she knew right away. My mom's major issue was, where is she from? Is she a believer? Those kind of basic questions. And once all that was done, it was as good as, So just make sure that for your own self, get through those things, walk through your checklist, make sure that, as far as you can do, that this is good. When you bring it to them, they will now look at things that you can't see. Because we always say again in our culture, where what an elder will see sitting down, you will not be able to see it even if you climb up to Everest. Yeah, what an older person will see just sitting down and crossing their leg, they will look at the relationship and tell you this is not going to work. And you'll be like, but tell me why. Say, I can't tell you why, but this marriage will not work. And go and check it. 20 years down the line, it will not work. Yeah, because they have a lot of experience. And that's why it's foolish to be at loggerheads with parents. I know in this culture and environment now, everything is loose. And my mom's not going to be at my wedding. That's the problem. I'm not going to go ahead with my wedding. I don't care. I don't need my dad. I don't need my mom. The truth is you need them. Yeah, you need them. You need their wisdom. You need their insight. You need their experience. Everything might not suit what you want, but you have to just listen. Listen to what they have to say and see where they are coming from, right? And that will help. I hope that answers your question.
All right. This one. It says, is body type, specifically someone who's curvy or slim, a good enough ground to pick a partner? Or is this question coming from a lustful heart?
We should ask the asker of the question. Okay, that's interesting. Madam, do you want to answer this question? No, I don't think you. There's nothing curvy to it, so I think I should be the one to answer this one.
No, but the other thing too is, there's the story. That's one story I love in the scripture. The daughters of Zelophehad. Do you know who they are? So their father did not have any son. Mm-hmm. So they were the ones that actually made God to change a whole rule. So they went to Moses and said, our father didn't have son, so does it mean we're going to lose our inheritance? And God said to Moses, make sure that these ones, they can marry from their cousins so that the inheritance does not leave their lineage. Because if they marry from outsiders, that means they're taking it to another tribe and they will lose it. And now that the last chapter, I think it's in Exodus or Numbers, the last chapter, they went again, they were having problems. And God said, let the daughters of Zelophehad, let them marry whoever they choose. So, but the understanding is that they have the lens of the scripture. They would have looked at those people through the scripture. So God, even though God says marry believers, so they believe that that's the premise. But marry is not just, because we have the rules, you have to marry this person, but you don't like them, you're not attracted to them, but you have to marry them because they are believers. No. This is marry whoever they choose. So that's God saying to them. So you can marry whoever they choose as long as they are believers. So either if you want curvy, if you want tall, if you want dark and handsome, as long as they are believers. So it's your choice.
Okay. Let's look at 1 Peter 3 from verse 3. Let's just see what it says. It says, do not let your adornment be merely outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. Now, if you like slim, trophy wife, by all means, go for that. But let me promise you something. That slim curvy will change very soon. And this is the disappointment that people face. When I decided I was going to marry Dorcas, she was at least 4 times this size. You will not believe it. I know some of you cannot comprehend that. You are thinking, am I exaggerating this? She was at least 4 times as big as she is right now. Yeah. Yeah. Like, they used to make fun, they used to call her Doki. Yeah, because she was quite on the big side. But I for some reason, that was not that was not, because I have this understanding, and I've had this understanding from a young age. I've seen my mom, I've seen my aunts go from, they have children, they blow up, and then after some time, they just, and you're like, where did all that go? You get what I'm talking about? So I've seen it, that this whole thing, we put a lot of emphasis on the beauty and whatnot. I'm saying if that is your drive, go for it. But I'm telling you that you will be disappointed very soon. Yeah, because some of the pictures that you're seeing, if you can show me the last Love Code pictures, if you have them, just show what Dorcas looked like in those pictures. This is my idea of a perfect size. It's twice what she is right now. Believe me, I know. I know from looking at it, you can't tell. This is for me, this is, but she just cannot stay like this. And for her, she feels better about herself when she is this size, not when she is this size. So if I truly love her, I'm not going to insist that she has to remain this size. I would love what she wants, what makes her feel better about herself, what makes her feel confident about herself. That's what I would love. And if she decides that after she wants to have another baby and she blows up again and she becomes, I'm fine. Like, I have because I started from the top. Do you get what I'm talking about? So I have no issue whatsoever with it. So the idea is that when you are marrying somebody, it's not just the outward. The outer person is the shell that you are marrying. We were looking through the pictures, just to put up some of these pictures for you guys, and I saw some of my pictures back in the day. My neck was a structure. You know how the neck is like this and then the head just shoots out of the neck? I'm like, what is this? What kind of picture is this? But it was the way I looked at the time. You get? So if she had decided that, I look good here, this is not this ones. I'm talking about pre-2018 and co. Like, I looked very teen. Like, I looked like, okay, not to talk about when we actually started the relationship, right? I didn't look like I had any hope. You see, Sako was talking about his own experience. I'm talking about, oh boy, I've had cars that are chameleon. Cars that, as you are driving, it depends on how the angle of the sun is, that the car will be changing color. So I've gone through a lot of things. So you can't use where somebody is starting out from to decide. The person you are trying to date is in their 20s. They have not yet formed. No, they have not. You haven't seen anything. Just give it time. Give it time. There's always that. So you also have to have that, that at the back of your mind, that, okay, as much as I like what I see right now, this will not always be this way. That's why some men get so frustrated, they start calling their wives names. Because you are not the size that I married. Did you think she was going to stay that way? Did you stay this way? Did you have a keg inside your stomach when they married you? You didn't, right? But after a while, you developed the keg, and now you are now complaining about her. And some women don't like pot bellies. They literally do not like it. But it's a reality. If you're going to be cooking pounded yam for your husband every night, it's a reality that you're going to have to deal with, that he will develop a pot belly. Yeah, so it's little things like that. Go for what you like. Don't, if I don't want to get too graphic or to go into, too many details. But I used to have a friend one time who used to tell me that if it's not big, he doesn't like it. And I told him, if you marry somebody that is not big, you will be in trouble. Because your eye will be, you marry Leah, you'll be looking for Rachel up and down the whole place. That's what will happen to you. So if that's what you want, go for that. But please keep it at the back of your mind. This will not always be like this. Pregnancy does a lot of strange things to women. Strange things, strange things. So please, get ready and be prepared in your mind so that you are not frustrated about that. That's all I will say about that. So as long as, like you said, all the other things, are in place, this person believes what you believe, you feel like you are compatible with them, curvy, slim, whatever, go for it. But be prepared that you are growing together, you are going to have to adjust at some point and all of that, all right? For me, honestly, I feel like if we were to have our long-distance relationship in 2024, it would be way easier than it was back in the day. And I've already alluded to that a little bit. Not because I would do it again. Trust me, I will not allow my enemy. I'm not even joking about this. I will not. I play this back in my mind all the time. The day I went to Redeemed University campus to see her, and she said to me that she was going to come to Canada. If I get back in that moment, I remember the intersection of the road that we were walking on when she said it. If I can go back to that particular instance, I will sell all my property and travel with her. I'm telling you, I would have done anything. If I knew what I know now and what has happened since then till now, what I would have done was, as she's saying she's going home, even though my parents could not afford it, I would have gone home and sold all our things and promised them that in 5 years I will repay all this. I'm telling you, that's exactly what I would have done. I would have traveled with her at that particular instance. I would not have let her go because I'm not going to do a long distance again. But I'm saying that if we were going to do it again today, it would be way easier because there are more tools now that you don't even need to ask her where she is, that you know where she is. You know that, right? There's so much going on social media now. You are always on TikTok, you're always on this one. And for those of you who cannot do anything without the world knowing, the minute you get to the airport, now at Heathrow, Eagle has landed. Heathrow, here we come. You know, so somehow you will know whether she's in UK or she's in KU. You will know that this person is telling me the truth or not, right? But beyond that, the basis of your relationship, we're going back to that, is what is the beginning? What's the foundation of your relationship? Is this relationship based on this person was dating somebody and they found me more attractive and they broke up with their girlfriend and they started dating me? That's exactly what will happen to you. I'm just being playing with you. That's why you will not have that trust. Because every time somebody else comes along, there will always be somebody more attractive than you. Always. You cannot be the finest boy that ever lived. It's not possible. There will always be another girl that is more pretty. You get that is prettier than you. So the point is, if that is the basis of your relationship and the foundation, every time something like that scenario is playing out, you start getting scared that, this is how they left them for me, or they're going to leave me. They also leave me. But if the foundation is a godly foundation, you know that this had nothing to do with our attraction to each other grew. It wasn't the first time the thought crossed my mind that God was speaking to me about her. It was like, devil, why? Like, no, not this one. Because this was like the spiritual of our church. You know, when there's a girl that everybody knows that when she's praying, you can't disturb her. That don't even pass beside her and try to touch her heart. They used to warn us that when Dorcas is praying, don't even try to, because she is lost. You know, they're worshiping like that and they're crying. You now say, I should go and marry this kind of person. Like, God, now, why now? You saw all the other fine girls in the church that are behaving themselves. Not this one, right? But our attraction was the secondary thing that came as a result of getting to know each other well. It was after we started spending time together, when we started talking, communicating, spending time together, going on long walks. Like she comes from, I've told you guys stories of how we will get on the bus together and literally go 1 hour away, come back together again, get on the same bus again, and go back there and repeat the process just because we have not finished what we're talking about. Right? That was the basis of the relationship, and that's now formed into the attraction, where now I can't sleep. I'm always thinking about her, but that's not how it started. So the foundation of it is always very important, and I'm so grateful to God that we had that kind of foundation. That's what I'm trying to pass along to you guys, that the beginning of this thing, if you get the foundation right, you are building on the right, no matter what you decide to build, that's up to you, but that foundation has to be right. Otherwise, you will always be checking at the back of your mind. You will always be checking. Going back to the issue of choices, I was thinking about it while I was preparing for this. I was just thinking through some examples in my head that I can share with you guys. And I remember this particular scenario, all of these days that I told you guys that I always go out, do events and magazines and whatnot. I was at this particular event, and there was a lady there who was helping me out, right? Just helping me with distributing things and little things. And you know how it is in an event setting. You have spent like 2-3 hours together with this person. There is like, it's not yet an attraction, but there is a rapport. Yeah, that you are in her. And then she decides, she's going to go home with me. In my mind, what go home with me meant is that we're taking the bus together and you will drop at your bus stop and I will go to my house. Right? Little did I know that what she actually meant by going home with me was literally going home with me. Right? So, the conversation just kept progressing, and it was like, where are we going with this thing? Like, is this, but in my head, and it's funny because this same person now, today, always reminds me that she is now, these days, or when later she saw what I have become in that sense is why she realized why I didn't sleep with her. Because she kept asking herself, that, is it that she's not attractive enough, or is it that there's something wrong with her? That why was I insisting that she was not going to spend the night with me? But I kept asking myself that if it is this easy for me to get you to go home with me and spend the night with me, my mind will never be at rest having you as my girlfriend. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I will never be at peace. Because every time you are out there, in my mind, you are going to go home with another guy. That's the truth of the matter. So for me, it wasn't even, at that particular moment, it wasn't even like scriptures or anything that prevented me to say, oh, I'm not going to do this because, like Joseph, how can I do such wickedness against God and my master? That was not the issue. The issue for me at that moment was just that, no. This is not the right foundation for anything. Anything that comes out of this, for me, I wasn't looking to just be sleeping around. I was looking for, okay, am I doing the right thing, which is my relationship, or is there something else that I'm supposed to be doing? Then you are now coming and saying, the first time you are meeting me, we're going to end up in bed. No. So you have to know what the foundation is like, and all of those things they are so critical that you are building on the right foundation. Don't just think through things. Don't just let things happen and you just say, oh, it's just because he likes me. You are not. I've told you, you are not the most attractive thing that ever existed. There will always be somebody out there who will be better than you, who will speak better than you, who will be richer than you. What love is that we make decisions to be committed to one person. One person. That's the whole idea of it. Okay?
What kind of manipulation?
Like when they are sending you videos of proposals.
Is that like maybe manipulate to get into a relationship?
No, to get you to do certain things, right? Yeah. Like the typical example, like, you know, the one that ladies like now, when they see a video of proposal on the thing and they send it, oh, I saw this video, I loved it. They are trying to tell you that, dude, you should be planning how to propose.
I think how to avoid that is to know what you want. Is to know what you want before getting into the relationship. It's when you don't know what you want, then you would be easily swayed. So if it's and making up your mind, like I said, is you have to know yourself first. Know yourself, know what you want. And it's not when you're in a relationship that you start doing that. You will be manipulated. So is sit with yourself proud to, before you get into a relationship, who am I? What do I like? What are my core values? What are the non-negotiables in my life? Like, what are the things that are important to me? So if you are in that relationship and things are going against that, then you have a base to compare things with. And with manipulation, you might be the one manipulating yourself, because if you don't have, because it's possible that you're seeing things that you think you should be doing or you should have, and because it's not happening for you, you want to start making it happen. And it might not be important to you. That's why you have to set your standard. What do I want before you are in that scenario? If you get there to start looking for what you want, it's the decision you're going to reach, get to, is going to be manipulated. I think that's what I would say in terms of.
Well, I mean, what I think I can add there is, there's also the aspect of emotional manipulation, which I think is partly what you are referring to, is that someone's acting in a certain way just to get you to do something, not really because, there's any big deal to it. This is the one thing that you guys need to remember about this thing when it comes to relationships. You are not yet in a covenant until you are married. Can you write that down somewhere so that you don't forget it? You are not yet in a covenant until you are married. I don't care what they call it. They can call it common law or whatever, because you have lived together for 1 year. If you are not yet in a marriage relationship, you are not yet in a covenant. And you are not obligated to do anything until you are married. Marriage is the only relationship where you are commanded to give up yourself and be one with somebody else, not when you are dating someone. Not when you are courting somebody. Because, I mean, there's all forms of things these days that are out there that people just do, and you're like, if only this guy can see clearly, he should be able to tell that he's being hoodwinked into this thing, right? But because we're so focused on what we want out of the relationship, we are not thinking about everything that is going on. That's where it's important to at some point in the relationship, submit the picture to someone else. right? Be it your spiritual leaders or your parents or somebody else who is not emotionally invested as you are, who can see the relationship for what it is. Because trust me, everybody else can see red flags except you. When your emotions are involved in something, you're not going to see those things. You will be looking at it, and everything they say, you'll be like, no, it's just the way he is. It's just the way. And they're looking at it and saying, hey, this person that I'm looking at, this is what will happen. Like, no, it's not that way. It's not that way, because you have had certain conversations, you have made certain promises, you have almost like you have given your word. You have made a covenant before you got into a covenant. Yeah? And that's the only basis for which you can be manipulated. Otherwise, once it's not clear, it's not they said something today, tomorrow they are saying something else, and you say, but this is what you said yesterday. Like, no, I just meant, you know that something is not adding up here. Your brain has to be alive. That you are in love does not mean you are blind. Love is not blind. Otherwise, marriage will open your eyes. It's not blind, though. You see clearly. You see very, very clearly. When you get married, though, then you choose to be blind to certain things. You see the difference. This is why before you get married, your eyes have to be open like this, clear as day. Then when you get married, you cannot put on your shades with your blue tints and choose that when she laughs in a certain way or she doesn't laugh at your jokes, you just ignore her. But not before you get married. So don't forget that you are not yet in a covenant until you are in a covenant. Marriage is the covenant. So before you get married, don't let anybody, manipulate you. And the biggest one is always with the issue of sex. Say, but if you love me, yeah, you will do this. If you love me, ask him, do you love your mother? Yes. Have you done this to her? The answer will always be no. Yep.
Wow.
I know you won't like me again after today, but I'm here to rescue you.
Go ahead.
Me, I think I'm the best person to answer this question because I'm one of those. I don't want to say lone rangers now. I like to think of myself as a high flyer because eagles don't flock. The truth of the matter is that there's a level that the way I think and the kind of things that God is helping me to be able to do, there's a certain way you have to think. You can't think in group because people will not understand what you're doing. Like what we're doing today, there are people who said you don't have to do this. But I know that if what we're doing is helping 2-3 people, I'm happy about that. I'm satisfied with that. You get? So it takes a certain mindset to operate that way. That's why I don't have many friends. Because by the time we meet for coffee 2-3 times, they are talking about things that I'm like, this is not the direction my life is going. I don't need this. You get what I'm saying? So they fall off naturally. But that said, so I said that to say that not all guys are that way. That not all guys are body, bunching. Most of those body, bunching is always all around drinking and stuff. Those that are believers, maybe it to be around soccer or football or basketball or something else, right? They bond around. What you want to do is not to try to be friends with them, but to get along with them. You have to. When you are getting married to somebody, it's not just about that person. It's about their family. It's about their friends. It's about everything. That's why you have to know as much as you can about everything about their lives, so that you get involved. My wife knows more about soccer now than when we first started a relation, because there are some times that, like today now, that Man City will play rubbish. She's the only one that I can express the anger to. And I'll just be talking like I'm talking to myself. Like, look at De Bruyne, just playing rubbish. Look at what they are doing. They can't even score. Blah, blah, blah. And as I'm talking, it's not going over her head. She knows those people that I'm mentioning. She might not know the details, but if you show her who Kevin De Bruyne, she can tell you that that's De Bruyne. Even if you show her Vincent Kompany that has retired, she will tell you that that's Vincent Kompany. She learnt it just to be able to get along with me. That's part of love. Right? It's the same way that when we used to watch TV, now we don't watch TV anymore. We've stopped for almost 6 or so years now. But when we used to watch TV and we used to watch HGTV and all those things, I don't like those shows. Like, put me in a place that has a bed and TV, I'm fine. I don't need fancy house. I'm not. But women like those kind of things. So I got into it too. And I started learning what shiplap is. What's my business with shiplap? I don't know what shiplap, but I had to learn those things so that I can have a proper conversation with her of what she likes. And she doesn't have to depend on her friends to say, okay, the only person that gets me is just my friends. So she will leave you alone and go and be talking to the friends. That's where people lose their relationship to their spouse's friends, because they feel like their friends are the only people who get them. That if I want to talk about basketball, I need to call my buddies. My wife doesn't know anything about basketball and she doesn't care. You get, like, she doesn't even care about it at all. So you just know a little. You don't have to dive into it, but know a little bit of everything to be able to have, decent conversations on that. That's part of love. But it's not that you have to become friends with your spouse's friends. Just be able to get along with them. Have a good rapport. Be civil. Just to be civil. To say, okay, hello, hi. They come around. Don't go upstairs and lock yourself up. Stay around. Help out. Do whatever you need to do. It's just to get along, right? You don't have to be at loggerheads. Otherwise, it will become this, this brawl. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Bill.
I think the other thing I will add to it is to create opportunities to spend time together, like as a group. I think we did that a lot. So we have most of our
We used to go to redemption camp.
So most of our friends, we have common friends. Like most of our friends, that's when
we moved here, yeah.
Then all my friends became his friends. We just transferred. But we did a lot of, we go to redemption. Well, you already know I'm very spiritual. We go to redemption camp for like the weekend, just rent room for the girls, room for the boys, his friends, my friends, and just spend time. And even after I left Ghana, I'm in Nigeria, he became good friends with those of my male friends.
Yeah.
So just create opportunities. The people you think you don't like because you haven't spent time with them. But when you start, you just give yourself that opportunity. You feel like, oh, this person is not actually what I think about them. So just create opportunity in group setting to get to know them. But there's nothing that says they have to be your friend. But if you're really interested in that person, you'll be interested in whoever their friends are, especially if those friends are helping to propel them in the direction you want. It's not like there are negative influences in his life.
This question here says, is financial stability a good enough ground for delaying finding a partner? Like, I want to be wealthy, to be able to provide in abundance for my partner, and not to be hustling.
This is a guy, and it's not just a guy, he's a Nigerian guy. I believe it with all my heart. Wow. Okay. I think I already mentioned something like this in passing. God did not wait for Adam to become wealthy to give him a wife. The minute Adam had a job, had work to do, God said, tend the garden, keep it, right? At that point was when God saw him and said it's not good for him to be alone. The idea of marriage is not for you to become wealthy and then bring a wife who will just be like a trophy wife that you just hang on there. They have no say in anything. They can't tell you anything. It's just about you at that point. No, that's not the way that works. It's to build something together. It's that God is giving you a help to do life with. Like, that's how my wife says it. So do life together and grow whatever it is that you consider wealthy in your head. You're supposed to grow it with somebody. So that when the time comes and one of you, goes home to be with the Lord, it's not like the other person is just left at the mercy of their family or whatever. It's that they have a stake in what you built together. It's not that, you wait until there are circumstances where, for some reason, maybe the man has been single, not by any reason of his own. You just didn't find somebody to marry or whatever it is, and he has stacked up substantial wealth, and he decides to marry. That's a different scenario. I'm saying you going into it with the mindset of, I want to build wealth first before I get married. That's not okay. All right. That's not a biblical. If I'll put it that way, that's not a biblical way to look at it. So I think that's what I'll say about that.
I think the first place to start is to pray about it first. And if you don't have a godly example in your own parents, but that's not an excuse. You belong to a church. You can't. There are people that have marriages working in that local assembly. Be friends with them. Not be friends, but watch them. What do they do? That's the cheapest way. That wouldn't cost you anything. The local body that you belong to, and sometimes even at work, I've seen marriages that work, that are believers, that you have people around you, and if you're looking for the marriages that work, you would see them. If that's what you're looking for, you would see. If that becomes your point of reference, you start seeing them. And in this age and that we are in social media, there are people that are out there. You have ministers, you have ministries that have marriages that are working. There are people that are not even ministers, that they also have marriages that work. And now there are lots of, how will I call it, like an academy that you can belong to, that they, like even the Pastor Kingsley, that they do have a school that you can, courses that you can belong to. So they are this age that we belong is not an excuse to say you don't have someone to model your, but the first place to start is your local assembly. Their marriages, they might not be, some are way ahead. Even in this house, we have people that have been married for over 40 years. We have 30, we have 20. So you can pick your choice. And it's not, what you're looking for is not perfection. Because if you dig deep, it's not like they don't have their own struggle. But what is that one thing that has helped their marriage to thrive? That's what you want to collect, asking questions, opening your eyes to actually ask.
Yeah, that's what I just put down before you mentioned it, is seek out godly examples. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. Like, you cannot tell me there are no godly examples. Like, there's no, if there's anything at all in the world, anything at all, let's even leave marriage alone. If there's anything at all, you will always find the good example and you will always find the bad example. There are examples of the people who are good at what they are doing, and there are examples of people that are crap at it, that you look at and say, you should not be doing this. You have no business playing basketball, right? It's like the other day I was watching Victor Wembanyama playing basketball. Some of the ladies might not know. You see, he's nodding. He knows what I'm talking about. This guy is, I think, is 7 feet something. Is that what it is? 7'4". So as the Toronto Raptors were trying to score, he just stood at the goal and was just doing like this and collecting the ball from their hand. He made 10 blocks in one game. It is a record in NBA because he's like a cheat code. It's like, this is what God created this guy to do. He can't literally do anything else because his bed has to be customized, his car has to be customized. He can't sleep on a normal bed because there's no bed that is 8 feet long, right? But that, when he's on that basketball court, that's exactly what he was created to do. He was just playing like it's a joke. In fact, at some point, he will make some blocks and he'll be smiling because it was just so easy for him. But you will see some other people playing that same sport and they are struggling. And you'll be like, why is it so hard for him to do this? Why is it so hard? So there's always good examples, but that's all I'm saying. But you must seek out those good examples. There are too many resources these days, too many. You just have to make sure that whatever you are looking for, you follow you are looking for godly examples, not just people who are just randomly. There are so many things that look attractive, but you are looking for godly examples that you can model after.
So this person says, personally, they've always agreed that sex is a no-go, but they've also been comfortable with doing other things, and they want to know if they need to change their approach.
Okay. Do you guys want my real answer, or do you want?
Yes.
Which one do you want?
We're nodding yes.
Because the real answer, you will not like me. That's the truth. You will not like me for the real answer. And I'm going to answer it this way. Because I know this day and age, it's very, because we are so exposed to a lot of things. We are so exposed to a lot of movies, and some of these things have been trivialized. Like, so trivialized that in your mind, you can't comprehend why would kissing be bad? Like, why? Because you have seen so much of it. That's why. You have seen so much of it that your mind has accepted that there's nothing wrong with this in any way, shape, or form. I mean, even the other day at the Super Bowl, after in the eyes of the entire world, this is the biggest sporting event as far as, it's only the World Cup of soccer that can compete with the Super Bowl. And you are pretending like you don't know what I'm about to say now. Your Taylor Swift and her boyfriend were kissing in the face of the whole. Some of you don't know. You don't know who Taylor Swift is? You do? Okay, but you don't know her boyfriend. He's an American football player. And they were kissing in front of the whole world. So when you do that kind of thing, it normalizes it to the entire world. And even young people that are growing up just look at it and be like, oh, Taylor Swift and Kelsey, they kissed. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. But you know how all the celebrity relationships are. In another 2 years now, they might scatter the whole thing. Then it becomes another cycle of, what not. This is all I'm going to say. And I'm going to answer it almost in a roundabout way. Okay? I'll first give you our own example. I was thinking about this thing when I was coming today to this place. That, do you know that the first time we actually, me and my wife, really, really got into, let's experiment. We are not going all the way, but we are experimenting. We were actually married. It was the night of our traditional marriage, and we still didn't have sex. Are you guys awake? Okay. You might look at us and say, you guys are weird. That's discipline. It's what is called discipline. Today, I can decide any day I like. Sometimes I just send her an emoji. She understands what it means, that tonight is the night. Babe, something has to happen this night. Because I've earned that. Do you understand? You will wait for maximum 2, 3, 4 years. And you have 40 years of your life to look back at that and be able to say what I'm saying to you now, that we waited. Look, after we finished that night, I was asking myself that, what are we waiting for? Then, okay, maybe we thought that we're still going to do a white wedding in Canada. So we were still waiting to say, okay, we're not going to go all the way. We'll just do whatever we can do. But we did a lot of things. Because somewhere in my mind, we are married. Somewhere else in my mind, are we really married? I'm not really sure. But it was later I realized that, your traditional wedding is actually your real wedding. That's actually your real wedding. And that's another subject, conversation altogether. But I said that just to say this, that for somebody like me, the whole idea, and for us too, because at the beginning of our relationship, she was the one who enforced that. Normally, it's not the guy that enforces that kind of thing. The first time I hugged her, like tight hug, she said, there's going to be a problem in this relationship. That was the first thing she said to me. So I had to calibrate my brain that, okay, this babe wants our boundaries. And that helped us a lot. Look, I am, today you will hear that one prime minister, not prime minister, like a premier or something, they caught him for drunk driving, DUI. He got a ticket. Or they say when he was younger, he was drunk driving. You will never catch me. You will never hear that I was arrested for DUI. Never. Do you know why? Because I will never drink the first cup. Never. I will never take the first glass. I've never tasted alcohol. I will never. So it is clear that I will never be arrested for drunk driving because I will never be drunk. So I will never take the first cup and say, let me see what my threshold is. Let me see how much of it I can handle. Let me see how far I can go without getting hurt or without burning anything up, right? It will never happen. I hope that is clear enough. So there are so many reasons why we don't do things. It's not just because it doesn't feel good. It feels good. It feels good. But the more you push, the more the threshold reduces. The next time, you're not going to start from the beginning. You are starting from where you stopped, and you are pushing it further. And this thing is a never-ending. You will just keep going and keep going until one day you will look back and say, where was all the resolve? And that's where the enemy wants you. He wants you in that place, and he can start playing on your mind and say, look at you, but you said you are this, but you said you are that. It's the same one that planned the whole thing for you. Because that's what he is, the accuser. That's who he is. So you need to make up your mind from the get-go. There are going to be boundaries, and I'm going to abide by these boundaries. Any man that runs away from you because is not willing to abide by your boundaries, that man, look, the guys in this room can bear me witness to what I'm about to say. That man will not be able to be faithful to you in marriage. Any man that cannot look at a woman that is saying, come, and say, no, I'm not doing. It will not, look, there will be too many scenarios. Even when you get married, there are people out there who their choice of partner is married people. Am I saying new things to you guys? There are people out there who they don't like single guys. They want to date a married person because they feel a married man has enough experience. He's not going to start from ground zero or be. Am I talking too clearly today? I thought we're not in church. I feel like we're back in church now. There are literally ladies out there who don't want to have anything to do with a single guy. They just want to be dating married men because they feel like married men have more to teach them than they have to teach the people. And it's all about sex for them. They have nothing to do with commitment. They just want to scatter people's marriages and go their way. That's what they want to do. So you want to know that the guy who will stay with you, right, through your boundaries, stay faithful to you, not just waiting with you, but waiting for you. Those two things. Is that I'm going to wait because of you. Not that I'm waiting with you, then I'm going outside, I'm doing what I like. Is doing all that. You can literally hand your heart and put it in his hand. You know that this guy is not going to go about doing rubbish. If a guy leaves you because you have boundaries, believe me, that fellow was not worth your trouble. Because it will cost you more in 10 years' time than what the pain that you are going through at that moment. I promise you that. In 10 years' time, the person that he will sleep with, I think I'm already talking too much because the last one I said, you guys were already looking like PS. You know the stories that we hear, they are almost unbelievable stories of somebody who bring somebody to your house to help you, do one thing or the other, and before you know what's happening, you just find out that the man starts acting one kind, and the next thing the lady knows is that these people are sleeping together. And you're like, so can't I even trust women around you? Is it like you are like, is it like you are women that there's a problem? You get, like, you can't trust. There was a particular season in our lives where I was doing, when we were already married by this time, we were in Vancouver, I was doing YouTube videos actively, right? Since I started this church, I stopped doing them, but there was a period where I was doing YouTube videos regularly, back to back, actively. Some of the places where I was doing the videos were in the house of single girls that she introduced to me, that she was mentoring. But they were living in apartment buildings that were very fine. And I needed those fine settings to do the videos. They will literally give me the key of their house. And I will go to their homes, sometimes when they are home, sometimes when they are not home, sometimes they are even inside the house. I will set my thing up and do my video. She knows that there's nothing. You can come out naked. I will snap you and I will send it to her. You can do whatever you like. Oh, nothing. Do you get what I'm talking about? Nothing. But what you'll find is that those girls, because they know the kind of guy that I am, they are so free with us. They don't have any, if you say, come and help us, not like when they say, come and help us, say, is your husband at home? If he's at home, I'm not coming. Because they don't know what you're going to do. But how you will know those traces is from you setting those boundaries when you are dating. And see whether he can abide by those boundaries. That's how you know a man that has self-control. You don't want to marry a man that cannot control the zippo. Okay. I hope with these few points of mine, I think that's a good place to end it.
All right, let's give a round of applause for Pastor Dorcas and Pastor Seun Salami. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma.